Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to Nerderotic. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerderotic.com. And unfortunately, once again, we got to talk about the road that the MCU, the great Marvel Cinematic Universe, is going down. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a shining example of what is good in entertainment up until a certain point. Kevin Feige has been a shining example of somebody who runs franchises correctly, treats the fans great, but all of a sudden, it looks like the MCU has bent the knee to certain political sects in Hollywood. And not sex, S-E-X, sex, S-E-C-T-S, because of the Time's Up, Me Too environment, which certainly started out completely legitimately with a lot of scummy men and women taking advantage of men and women and women and men, if somebody wants to care what order I put them in. But we need to talk about Black Widow. In it itself, not a problem. Been wanting to see this movie for quite some time. I think Scarlett Johansson portrays her perfectly. I have been happy with every single second she has played Black Widow. I have no problem with Scarlett Johansson, and if the film is done the way that most of the MCU films have been done, I will enjoy it, give it a positive review, and sing its praises from the highest mountaintops. But it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like Marvel is going down this damn road, and I don't understand it, and it irritates the hell out of me because they were the last good franchise and the only good one for so long. I think I've made it pretty clear that I don't want a bunch of partisan politics, current year partisan politics in my entertainment, because you're alienating half the audience, which in turn is encouraging the creatives to attack fans. And that, again, is why the fandom menace exists. It is purely a reaction. And I know there are some who are still pushing the narrative that there are angry Russians trying to downvote Captain Marvel on Rotten Tomatoes. To this very day, there are people who actually believe this. No, that's not the case. There are some people who genuinely didn't like the movie, as there were people who genuinely liked the movie. It was split. The MCU is a very powerful brand. I don't want that from Black Widow. I think Scarlett Johansson deserves better. I think she should have been the first female. Well, I look at Scarlett, if you're watching, I consider you the first MCU female lead. You were there first. I consider you a star of the Avengers. Yes, on equal. You were a bigger name than Hemsworth and Evans when that movie came out. So I still don't know why you get disrespected like that. Let's go to the IO9 article and read between the lines, because it certainly sounds like if we get a new Black Widow film, some more retconning will be on the way. Kevin Feige hints at how a Black Widow prequel could reveal secrets of the MCU. And this reminds me a lot of what Captain Marvel was hinted to do before it came out. Black Widow is dead. This much we know from Avengers Endgame. And yet, if the rumors are true, Scarlett Johansson is about to, or already has, started filming a Black Widow movie that would be one of the first films in Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Here's one of the biggest problems with the Black Widow film, and this is why it could be filled with retcon landmines of wokeness, and that's what I'm worried about. It might not be the case, but it's certainly a concern considering what we've seen from Captain Marvel. But Black Widow should have had a film a long time ago, and I think this film is more of a reaction of the criticism that the MCU has gotten for not doing a Black Widow film sooner. And yes, the MCU has gotten a lot of criticism on this. Though neither Disney or Marvel Studios have confirmed that the movie is happening, we asked Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige how potentially going back in time for a Black Widow prequel could possibly help move the story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe forward for Phase 4. Now I'm going to add a card here to add a little context to this, because if you haven't watched all my videos, and I can't assume you have, you might not know what the hell I'm talking about. But when you hear a sentence at the end of this paragraph that says, help move the story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe forward for Phase 4, at face value, it sounds completely harmless, and it might be. But if they're going to do it in the way they did it in Captain Marvel, for instance, with Nick Fury losing his eye, it was insinuated that it was in combat, some badass moment, and they made a kitty cat scratch his eye out. That was purposely done to dial back Nick Fury's badassery, so Carol could look more badass than him in her movie. Also, to generally dial down the quote-unquote toxic masculinity, because right now the sentiment in Hollywood is any masculinity is toxic masculinity, and I'm hearing that from the Shaft film, which I haven't seen, but it sounds like it's a movie for dudes, and it's extremely problematic. And in the Time's Up Me Too era, any kind of masculinity is problematic, and we see it time and time again getting retroactively removed or kneecapped. There's a method to the madness, Feige told IO9 while promoting Spider-Man Far From Home. There's always a method, and doing things in an unexpected way is something we find fun. There are ways to do prequels that are less informative or answer questions you didn't necessarily have, and then there are ways to do prequels where you learn all sorts of things you never knew before. Kind of like how Carol inspired the name for the Avengers initiative, and kind of like how Ronan ran from her and Captain Marvel, completely ruining that character for Guardians of the Galaxy, and yes, it does for me. It seems Feige is suggesting if a Black Widow prequel is coming, which it totally is, come on now, it would be the latter. A film that teaches audiences things they didn't know before. Maybe she interacted with the Skrulls like Captain Marvel and Nick Fury. Maybe she unlocked a whole other plot that she never got to finish. Black Widow has certainly earned her stripes, and so has Scarlett Johansson. So if they do stuff with Black Widow like they did with Captain Marvel, I will be far more forgiving as long as they're not undercutting male characters just to make Black Widow look more badass. They don't need to do that. She is badass. All you need to do is adapt some of the great comics they have out there. In my opinion, my favorite Black Widow story is within the pages of Daredevil during Frank Miller's run. It was spectacular. Go check it out. I was hoping they would do a rated R Black Widow film. I think that would play better and do it in the style of Daredevil season 1 or season 2. Maybe even wait so you can cross those two together at some point. Of course, you would have to do it retroactively. That's why it was such a dumb move to kill Black Widow, to be honest with you, because now we're robbed of her interacting with Daredevil. I look at Better Call Saul as a wonderful example of a prequel that almost completely stands on its own apart from Breaking Bad because it informs you about so many things you didn't know about before, Feige continues. So time will tell which way we've gone with a supposed Black Widow movie. Feige lightly chuckled after the last phrase. While Better Call Saul is a good prequel with 3 good seasons, it's gotten a little long in the tooth, but it hasn't harmed Breaking Bad. But we see this brought up, and I cringe a little bit because Breaking Bad has had horrific results with the type of storytelling that they try to bring from that show into genre. Of course, I'm talking about Rian Johnson, Subversion of Expectations, and of course, The Last Jedi. We don't need that seeping into the MCU. With Marvel Studios set to return to Hall H of the San Diego Comic-Con in about a month, we're likely to get much more news on this supposed Black Widow movie soon, but for fans dying to know what comes next after Avengers Endgame, well, Spider-Man Far From Home will offer a good chunk of answers. That opens July 2nd, and of course I will be reviewing it here, and I will be at San Diego Comic-Con in just under a month, and maybe I'll be in Hall H checking this stuff out, but I hope I see you there amongst the 150,000 other people that are going to be there, and then the extra 150,000 other people who are outside the con. So follow me on Twitter at Nerdrotics, and keep an eye on my website, nerdrotic.com, for a possible meetup location, and maybe other YouTubers will be there, but I digress. Yes, I am very concerned that the MCU is going woke. Why? Because I watched Captain Marvel, and it's been seeping in prior to that. There was a little bit in Wasp and Ant-Man, and yes, I call it Wasp and Ant-Man. There was a little bit in Spider-Man Homecoming. We will find out if there's any in Far From Home, and hopefully there isn't. And hopefully this is just an anomaly and we can go on enjoying the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I want to love a Black Widow film. Now, yes, I would love it to be rated R, but I think I could still enjoy it if it's PG-13. We will see. And I love Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow. I don't want to see her character get retroactively ruined, just like I don't want to see the MCU get retroactively ruined. That's it for now. More videos to come. Everybody have a great day, and may the free folks sing songs of your greatness.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.